Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers!
Step back, pop game like Dame. Now they all know our name. Crossover, then go straight to the hezzy. I'm a dunker like Denny. Small market, yeah, we making it big. Now we got too many cameras. Clinging on guards like Drew. You can't even move, ain't nobody stopping us. Rip City Turner, we making some noise. Pass to the present, we get it like Roy. More to be rockin', we bringing the force. Gang with a dime, that's a bucket, of course. If straight and by the dunk, you gotta move. Young and still hustling like Scoop. Come and tap in, see what's new. Blazers Uprise on the crew.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise post-game show here on a Sunday night. The Blazers demolished the Indiana Pacers 131-111 in a game that had many positive storylines for your Portland Trail Blazers as Denny Avdija returns and he looks good. He looks good. Moved around well. We're going to talk about how he looked and if we're optimistic that maybe, hopefully, he's put those back issues behind him. And Scoot Henderson breaks out of his slump. 28 points for Scoot off the bench. 10 for 15 from the field. Poured in 6 assists. No turnovers. As he breaks out of that awful 7-game stretch that he was in. I'm super excited to talk about some good Scoot basketball tonight. And the Blazers did what they were supposed to do. Coming home against a Pacers team. The Blazers were favored by 8.5 points going into this one. And they won it by 20. They took care of business. This was a fun one to watch and going to be a fun one to break down here on the postgame show. So thank you to those of you who are joining us live. And, of course, thank you to those of you who tune in after the fact. Leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on this game. Leave a like. Easiest way to support the channel. And make sure you're subscribed. I'll ask Eric how he's doing once he puts his headphones back on. Eric, what's going on, man? How are you doing?
I'm good. It was nice to see this game tonight. Both Scoot and the Blazers needed this desperately, and we got Denny back too. So, just a great all-around game, much needed for the Blazers at this point to get some momentum going towards the end of the season.
Yeah, this game was much needed for me, man. This was much needed for me. Last post-game show, I talked about the last 19-game stretch where the Blazers were 7-12, and all their wins were against bottom feeders. So even the wins, it was hard to feel that good about them. And I know this win is against a bottom feeder, but this win feels good because, A, they win by 20. They get some garbage time minutes. You get some Young Hansen minutes. He gets a dunk. Blake Wesley's celebrating with them. But also, the more important things is Scoot Henderson has a really good game. Really, really nice to see given his struggles. I said going into this game, this is the type of game where Scoot needs to hopefully break out of his slump, and hopefully this type of opponent will be an opponent that he can do well against and that can help build his confidence back. That's exactly what tonight looked like. And then Denny returning, and this team just looks so much better with Denny. Some of the playmaking there was super fun, especially late in garbage time. He started to style on him a little bit. This was the funnest win in quite some time to watch, with a lot of positives coming out of it for this stretch run. I'm feeling a lot better than I did a couple of days ago. Will it last? I don't know, but yeah, this was definitely a fun one.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about this last stream. I kind of felt like Scoot just needed to see an early 3 go down. Now he misses his first one, but then he hits his second one. And then towards the end of that first quarter, he hit a 3 and then he got going downhill, got a lay-in. And then the next possession, or I don't know if it was the next possession, but shortly thereafter, right towards the end of the quarter, he got to the foul line. And he missed one of the free throws, but it was basically like 6 points in 3 possessions for him. And I felt like that was just key and just him having a good stretch for once. It wasn't just one shot. He made some plays. He had a nice alley-oop to Rob Will early in this game as well. And I think you could see him starting to come back as he just made a couple plays in a row. And it wasn't just like, oh, I finally made a shot. It was, no, this has the potential to be a really good game for me. And he really took it to the Pacers after that.
Yeah, I'm super excited to break down his game. We'll do a box score graphic. That's how good I'm feeling tonight. I'm going to make a box score graphic. It's been a few post-game shows since I've done that. But first, let's take a look at the team stats because there's something on this particular graphic that looks better. It's still not great, but it's better than what it's been, and that is the turnovers. 14 turnovers in this game for the Blazers. And the Pacers only scored 12 points off those turnovers. The Pacers run a lot. That was always going to be the thing that kept the Pacers in this game, was if the Blazers had a high turnover game, like they are prone to have, and the Pacers get out on the break and get some fast break points off of it. That was going to be the recipe for this game getting scary for the Blazers. They didn't let that happen. Only 11 fast break points for the Indiana Pacers. The Blazers scored 13, so they win that battle. They take care of the ball at a higher clip than they have, I don't know where 14 per game would rank across the league, but I think it's right around average-ish somewhere. Scoot Henderson, no turnovers with those 6 assists, which was super, super impressive. Denny coming back, you would think maybe he's a little rusty. Maybe he has some mistakes, some high turnover plays. He has 8 assists. He only has 1 turnover. So those two guys combined for 14 points and 1 turnover. Drew Holiday, go ahead.
You said points.
14 assists, correct.
There you go. Yeah.
14 assists, 1 turnover for those guys. That was huge, just to have those guys come in and make plays. We haven't had Denny the past 7 games, essentially, and we essentially didn't have Scoot the past 7 games either. So, it's really nice to have those guys step up and just perform. And this team has been able to take care of the bottom feeders, but there's been some games where it hasn't exactly been pretty, especially on the offensive end. They beat the Suns when they were super shorthanded right after the All-Star break, but they only scored 92 points in that game. They held them to 77, right? It was an ugly, ugly offensive game. They had a win against the Wizards earlier in the year that was close. Let me get to the schedule here. Memphis, they win that game by 8. It wasn't exactly dominant. Same thing with Chicago. At the start of that 5-game road trip, that was a close game. Well, the Blazers were able to get up by about 15 points in the fourth quarter, and then the Bulls had this massive comeback and made it a little bit sweaty there at the end. Even against the bottom-feeding teams since the All-Star break, the 3 wins that the Blazers have had since then haven't necessarily been the prettiest or the easiest. This game was a good offensive game, which was really nice to see, and I don't think it's a coincidence that you have Denny back for this one, and you have Scoot playing well. It just makes this team a completely different team.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Blazers got off to a good start. We're up 12-5 in this one, and then they had several turnovers in a row. They hadn't turned the ball over to that point, and then finished the first quarter with 4. And it let the Pacers back in this game. Pacers actually take a lead, and then it was like back and forth from there on out the rest of that quarter. And it was like, oh man, are we really going to play down to another team and commit these stupid turnovers? They were all like live ball turnovers. Jarris Walker got a dunk. He got a dunk same fashion in the second half as well. But it was what you were talking about. You got to limit the Pacers' fast break points, and it was like, man, we cannot give these live ball turnovers to them for easy baskets. They're going to run us out of the gym. And luckily, pretty much when Scoot came in after that, he kind of steadied the game for us, and it was good to see him take care of the ball. The Blazers played really well after that. The Pacers made a couple of runs to get it to like 12 or 13 a couple of times in the second half, but it never really felt like they were going to come back in this game. And it was nice that the Blazers had a game where they could kind of cruise a little bit. And especially with the schedule upcoming, you have a game on Tuesday and then you don't play again until Friday. So basically just like one game in the next 4 after this one. So you get Denny back, gets to play a little bit, and then gets to rest a day. We'll see how he's feeling for the next game. And then they got those 2 days off before they have to play again. So really good setup in terms of taking care of business tonight and then having a relatively light schedule the rest of this week.
Yeah. Something that I want to point out in this game was there was some flashes of half-court offense that was a little bit a little bit more than what we're used to. You know, we've talked about how kind of limited this offense is in terms of the sets that they run, in some of the off-ball movement, that sort of thing. It's been a frustration point for us so far this season, but there was a couple separate possessions where they had a big at the top of the arc make a play. Robert Williams fed Scoot Henderson on a backdoor cut from the corner. But the play I'm really, that I really liked was Klingen's assist to Scoot, where Scoot had all day to just kind of like load up and standing rim graze dunk. But that was Scoot curling off a screen. Instead of going to the ball, he curls it. And I think that's a read. He can come take the handoff or he can curl it, and it's a passing opportunity. Great job by Klingen on that play to set up that pass, because he didn't really have the angle to throw it. So he spins and wraps it around, and it's just a perfectly placed pass. And that play was one of my favorite plays from this game, because, you're utilizing Scoot off the ball to get him an easy bucket. When Scoot was struggling during that 7-game stretch, there wasn't really any opportunities that he had off the ball to get easy buckets and maybe get himself going a little bit. Everything was forced, he's trying to isolate, and while the ball should be in his hands, and I've talked about that, any good offense should be able to free up a player here and there just for some easy buckets, and getting a couple easy buckets like that throughout this game for Scoot, I thought was big for him and this offense, just being able to, Scoot can come flying off these handoffs, so guys play him pretty tight, even though he hasn't been shooting the 3-ball the best. And when you're played tight and you can come off a curl, a lot of times that'll actually be there. And when you're played tight, that backdoor cut from the corner's there. So I think that play was also just indicative of what I want to see from the Blazers, utilizing Donovan Klingen at the top of the arc as a passer, because he's smart in that regard. And, it's a subtle thing to spin and wrap that pass the way he did, but that's something that a lot of bigs don't have a real feel for. So that was one of my favorite plays from this game. I don't know if anything else jumped out from you offensively, but I do think they did a solid job offensively tonight, not letting the ball stick too much.
Yeah, and there was a couple of good cuts, and that's all we need, right? We just need a few players to move and not just get stagnant. And when someone has trouble breaking the ball or breaking their man off the dribble, or like you mentioned, if we're playing through Donovan in the high post, although he tried to do it once this game, I was kind of happy he tried it, but he's not the type that's going to usually break down his guy off the dribble. So you need movement. You can't just stand there and have everyone else standing around and just having like one person come for a dribble handoff. Like, that's just not good offense. So tonight you had the back door with Scoot in the first half that he got a dunk off of, and then you got the pass in the second half where Donovan kind of passed him open, but Scoot cut, and that's the main thing. If you cut and someone sees that, like Donovan, he can lead you, and then Scoot ends up turning around and his defender falls behind him and he's got a wide open dunk. So just the movement off ball, I think, was the key. And then that also sets up to where when you start to have, because Denny had a lot of success driving the ball. He was off on his 3-point shot. They were all short. Obviously, his legs weren't there on the 3-point shot, but everything else looked good from Denny. And between Denny and Scoot driving in this game, you could tell how much it sucked in the defense, and those guys were able to kick out the shooters, and Scoot did a pretty good job of finding the corner 3-point shot as well. So if you have a good mix of getting open on the 3-point line, but also cutting to keep the defense honest, I think that's the recipe for success. They're not going to magically start running a bunch of fancy sets in the middle of the season. So it's really predicated on that movement. And it's still not great, but it was much better than it has been throughout the course of the season tonight. And hopefully that's a sign of things to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Sorry, I got Denny's stat line wrong in the headline graphic. Oops. That's the typo for tonight. It wasn't a flawless night for me. But yeah, just Need to see more movement, man. They shoot the three ball well tonight. They shoot 37% from three. That's a good clip for them. 15 for 41. They did a good job attacking the paint as well. 58 paint points to only 46 for Indiana. 51% inside the arc for the Blazers. And they make their freaking free throws, dude. After last game where they were absolutely abysmal from the charity stripe. 22 for 27, 81% is much, much better. If you got that sort of free throw shooting night last game, we might be talking about a winning streak right now because they probably would have beat the Houston Rockets. Nice to see them make their free throws, but this, was a little bit of a lower pressure game at home. It's Indiana, so it's easier to kind of run stuff in general, but you can just kind of see when the Blazers have an inferior opponent and they're at home, they're just more comfortable, and they do a lot of things well, including stuff like just make free throws. When they're in a game where they're not so comfortable, they can become abysmal from the free throw line. Abysmal from the three-point line, and I think some of that has to do obviously with playing a higher caliber opponent that makes you uncomfortable, but it almost seems like a little bit of a mental thing as well. How much of it is a mental thing, I don't know, but they definitely seem more comfortable tonight, and it translated to scoring at the rim, translated to scoring from the three-point line, making open threes. Tamani still didn't shoot the ball well, but you look at Jeremy, he's 4 for 6. Drew, he's 5 for 8. Scoot, he's 3 for 7. But then the free throw shooting is just a night and day difference from last game.
Yeah. That's what's frustrating about. That's why we were so frustrated, I think, on last stream, right? Is because that was a winnable game, and then you come home and beat the Pacers like this. After beating Houston and having a 3-2 road trip instead of 2-3, and you're in much better position to possibly take over that 8 seed. Now it's still possible with the schedule, but they definitely let that game get away from them in the fourth quarter last game, and it was nice to see them bounce back and play better. It does help that you're playing a depleted Pacers team and a team that's obviously trying to. They played hard tonight. They played a lot of their guys major minutes, but they definitely want to be in the bottom 4 so they can keep their pick after making that Zubac trade. So I don't know if you can read like a ton into them beating down a team like this, but it was nice to see them make their free throws and 37% from 3. So that is pretty good.
Yeah, and it's not like this Pacers team just has a bunch of rookies on it. They have 5 guys in the rotation today that were playing finals games 9 months ago. You have Obi Toppin, TJ McConnell off the bench. You got Siakam. You got Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nembhard. Ben Shepherd has gotten some playoff run for them in the past. And, they're a bad team, but they're, I don't know, they're definitely tanking, and they've dealt with some injuries, and some guys have missed time. Obi Toppin, for example, has missed the majority of the season. Good to see him back. But, it's not like you're going up against complete and utter scrubs. Maybe I'm just trying to talk myself into making this as meaningful as possible. But at the end of the day, you took care of business, and you have a lot of good come out of this game. Like Scoot Henderson was not playing well even against bad teams during that 7-game stretch. Denny Avdia just showing up and embracing contact on drives was huge. So lots of good stuff to talk about despite the opponent. Let's bring up the box score here. Shout out to Smog with his 62nd month member message. Says the Scoot agenda has been resuscitated. I want to start there. All right. Thank you to Smog. So Scoot today, 28 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds. He goes 10 for 15 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3. Should have been 4 for 8 from 3, but he stepped on the line again. Can we get him to stop stepping on the line? Or actually, Eric, is it a good thing when he steps on the line? Because I think he's 4 for 4 when he steps on the line. Like, he's automatic. He's automatic when he steps on the line, and, his three-point percentage isn't that pretty. So, if those counted as threes, his three-point percentage would look a lot better. You got to get behind the freaking line. But that aside, no turnovers. He has 19 points in the first half. He only plays in 26 minutes for those 28 points. So it wasn't even a full, breadth of minutes. It was 26 minutes, 28 points, 6 assists, no turnover. Just absolutely dominated this game. And I'll just say this. People ride that freaking roller coaster, man. I had a couple people to me on Twitter say, maybe I give up on him too soon. And it's like, why do you guys do this to yourself? Why do you guys ride the roller coaster so freaking... You get so high and so low. Like this game is a good sign, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's automatically going to be a star. Just like that 7-game stretch didn't mean he's automatically going to be terrible and be a bust. He's obviously better than that 7-game sample. He's obviously better than that. He was obviously in his head. There was obviously some sort of mental issues there. He wasn't playing with confidence. And I know he says in the postgame press conference, I always have a next play mentality and, I stay confident. But he also is sitting there saying I had to get back to being myself. So it's like, okay, which one is it? It seems to me that he'll say, I always have a next play mentality because he's trying to convince himself to have a next play mentality because that seems to be something that he kind of struggles with, right? Say what you need to. Like, he's telling us what he is trying to tell himself, because he played with so much more confidence today and played you could tell that he was more sure of himself today than he was at all during that 7-game stretch. And I don't know what he needs to be this guy mentally all the time, but it was freaking obvious to me. It should have been obvious to everybody that, that 7-game stretch, he was probably the worst player in the league. Okay? But talent-wise, he's not the worst player in the league. So that's why, people freaking out and acting like that's exactly who he is drove me a little bit crazy, because that's not who he is. We're still kind of learning who he is. He's still kind of learning who he is as a player. He's coming back off a hamstring tear, and he's 11, 12 games in. Like, is his hamstring even 100%? I don't know. I was starting to question that with how bad he was playing. But at the end of the day, he's had some stretches in his NBA career where he finds his confidence and he plays really freaking well. And for me, it's like, okay, how can we just get him to play with that sort of confidence no matter what all the time? Because, you look back at last year, the game where he was, 6 for 6 from 3, and that didn't count a 2 where his foot was on the line. He just has some of these games where he just has all this confidence. And tonight he looked like the guy that we drafted 3rd overall. But that's probably not who he's going to be every night. So where does that average level of production shake out? I still don't know. He was better last year than he was year 1. In year 3, I would expect him to continue to be better. But obviously, the last 7 games was maybe the worst 7-game stretch of his entire career. But it's not like he's somebody that his skills are just going to randomly regress from where they were at year 2. There's a lot going on there. So that's why people that were already writing his obituary were kind of driving me crazy. But at the same time, it was very justified to be worried about his play during that stretch as well. I was a little bit worried about his play. But, he's going to have games like this. He's going to have some stretches where he looks bad, and people are going to react and overreact accordingly and continue to ride that roller coaster that I talk about with him.
Yeah, but it seems to be whenever you give up on him or start to give up on him, he turns the corner.
I've never given up on him. It looked so bad.
December of last season, you were starting to be like, okay, this isn't happening, and that's when he went on that stretch, and then it never got brought up again. And
I'd be interested to hear how I worded it, because I don't really remember the exact verbiage. So, Trevin, if you can find it in your archives.
Giving up's not the right word, but
there's been times where I've been worried about the production, especially like year 2 after that horrible rookie season. Like, he started off year 2 bad, and then it was like, okay, he isn't taking the jump that I saw, so now I'm beginning to get really worried. I assume that's kind of what I said. And then he takes off and then he takes the jump, the year 2 jump that I expect. And it's like, okay, that's what I expected from him. Now I expect a year 3 jump, but I said before the season. 20 games to figure it out. I think he'll struggle the first 20 games and then start to take off. How many games are we in? Like 12. But I didn't expect him to just take off because he didn't take off in year 2. He struggled at the start of year 2 and then started to figure it out, find his confidence. I expected it to go the same way. And if this game is a turning point, then it did kind of go the same way. So, yeah, anyway, go ahead.
Oh, I got to address something in chat. So there's this argument that basically people or one person is saying, Kirk, is that Scoot would be better if he started and the organization showed that confidence in him or whatever. Okay, first of all, he had an amazing game off the bench tonight. Who knows if his confidence, like if the game is different if he starts, who knows what would have happened. It could have been completely different. He could have missed his first few shots with the starters or not gotten the ball at all with that lineup and like taken a bad shot or something, and things might have been completely different. So I don't get arguing that over this game. Second of all, Scoot absolutely did not deserve to start this game. He has been playing bad. You can't just start a player just because you want to have faith in him. They have started him a couple of games recently. It has not gone well. I think it was totally justified in this situation to have him come off the bench. And he had a great game off the bench. Why does it have to be, oh, he should have started tonight? Like, why can't we just be happy he had a good game, regardless of what his starting or not starting role was? If he earns the starting spot, he earns the starting spot. It'll show if he plays like this. He'll definitely be the starter at some point very soon in his career. If not, if he's somewhere closer to the previous 7 games, or if the average of these moments is a little less than the actual average, then he's probably not a starter. So I don't understand why we need to force him to be something right now when I don't think he's ready to just come in and start. And I don't know if he gels particularly well with the starters right now coming off the injury. If he would have been here at the beginning of the season, it might have been different by now, but he hasn't had the time the starters and the regular players have had to play with each other. So he's got to get a little bit of time to get used to playing with them as well.
I think no matter who he played next to tonight, he was good. No matter what lineup he was in, he played some with Drew, he played some with Denny, etc. I think when his confidence is that rattled and he's starting games at this point in his career where he's still kind of finding himself, I don't think it's a bad thing to bring him off the bench and still play him. He played 26 minutes. He would have played more. He would have finished this game if it was close. But he was a plus 26 in 26 minutes, right? I think, he has to find a consistent level of confidence no matter kind of the situation. And normally when I say that, the situations I'm thinking about are, in the future, like he's struggling, he's missed a couple shots, like the defense is hounding him and maybe getting away with a little extra physicality. If he's going to be a true starting level guard, he has to be consistent and not let that sort of stuff bother him or get into his head at all. And he has to be consistently confident and not be rattled by missing shots. And I think ultimately he'll get to that point. But when he's, he just turned 22 and he missed 50 games to start the season and the team's already played more than half their season and he's coming back, maybe there's a little bit of a mental block too because he tore his freaking hamstring off the bone or whatever. There's a lot to go through and process. And he came back, he looked pretty good the first 4 games or so. And then when he started to miss shots, that snowballed for him. That completely snowballed for him. I think during that 7-game stretch, he was still shooting okay from 2 and still had some good passing moments. It was just man, he can't buy a 3. And you could tell that was kind of starting to affect the rest of his game from a mental side of things. And today he makes 3s and he gets into the paint and everything's great, right? So he has to be more consistent when he's not making 3s, still get downhill, still get into the paint, still make plays. He had a really great defensive moment on a steal on Siakam today that he turned into a lob in transition. Still make those types of plays even when your shot's not
block shot on 3-pointer too.
Yeah, he is capable of impacting the game even when his shot isn't falling, but you could tell the shot was affecting him and things were starting to snowball in a negative way in other areas as well during that stretch. So I've been a big proponent of starting Scoot and showing that faith in him, but that wasn't helping. That wasn't helping. He had started a couple of games there, 3 in a row, despite his struggles, and it wasn't helping at all. So today, coming off the bench, he plays really well. I don't think that means that, he has more confidence off the bench, or they need to bring him off the bench because he'll play with more confidence. Because last year, he had his best games when he started. His best game of the year was when he started, and he played with a lot of confidence when he started. So that's why I was, a big proponent of that. But that obviously wasn't having the same effect this year. So I have no issue with the team bringing him off the bench, even if it's for the rest of the year. Like, regardless of if he starts or comes off the bench right now, there's a certain baseline level of confidence that he has to play within himself, and there's a certain baseline level of consistency that he has to find himself. He found that last year. So to me, last year it was like, okay, now he's ready to take that next step. Now he's ready. He should be starting. We're trying to get him to take the next step beyond just like finding some level of consistency, because he had a consistent 2 months, December to January. He played really solid basketball. But unfortunately, that's not the same conversation that we're having right now. We're talking about a guy that just had the worst 7-game stretch of his career. So we're kind of taking a step back here, where we need to get him back to that level playing consistent basketball. Hopefully, it's at an even higher level than last year, but there needs to be that level of consistency that should not be dependent upon starting or coming off the bench, just for him to find that baseline again.
Yeah. I just want to see him play well regardless of his role. I don't think if he's in his head too much about starting or not starting, then I think that already hurts his confidence level, right? Like, you're already, if you're thinking about that too much, then you're already overthinking it, I think. So in my mind, just accept whatever role you can. You don't have to be happy about it, right, coming off the bench, but understand if you play well off the bench, you're going to work your way into a starting spot. Jeremy Grant was coming off the bench at the beginning of the season. He's not like a surefire starter. There's ways they don't have to start the 3 forwards or announce the lineup as Denny as a guard. So there are ways for him to get back into that starting lineup this season if he plays well. But they did try to start him a couple games, and it didn't help. It didn't work in terms of helping build that confidence back up. So they put him back on the bench today when we get Denny back. And I think that kind of, I don't know, because like Trevin mentions, it wasn't necessarily starting that he played well last year. It was more he was just getting consistent minutes at one point. And he had some games in that stretch where he did both good games off the bench and as a starter. So I think it's more just like, okay, we just want whatever role you have, we just want to see you have success in that role and don't worry about who's starting or whatever. Like you mentioned, if this was a close game, Scoot would have 100% been out there at the end, closing this one out with how we played tonight. And that's all you should be worried about is, did you help your team win? Yes. Lately, he has not been helping the team win. And so that's all he should be concerned about, not starting or not, or how many minutes he's getting or whatever. The minutes will come if you play well. And I think this is a good game to build on, hopefully, towards getting consistent minutes and getting a more consistent role, whether that's starting or coming off the bench.
Absolutely, man. I do think it's funny how, like, the people that have been in here saying Scoot should retire, Scoot should go to China, Scoot should get cut. Right now, all of a sudden, they're like, well, this is only one game, and he just played 7 bad games, so now I'm going to care about sample size. And it's like, okay, dude, so you cared more about a 7-game sample size than a 66-game sample size last year. But now you're going to play the sample size game. Like, be freaking consistent, you know? If you care about small sample sizes and want to be a prisoner of the moment and react to everything in the moment, you should be throwing a freaking parade on Broadway right now because Scoot just dropped 28 in 26 minutes. But this is what I'm talking about. It's like people have agendas and people come in here and they make their agendas known, you know. We got one guy who hates Scoot, who's doing exactly what I'm talking about, arguing with another guy who hates Dame and thinks that if Dame's the second best player next year, this team's only going to win 10 games. You know, it's just a hot take BS. So this is an example of why sometimes you should chill with the hot takes, because you can end up being either very inconsistent to a point where you don't make logical sense anymore, or you just look straight up silly. So anyway, glad to see Scoot play well. He's obviously better than the guy that we saw during that 7-game stretch. I was saying that even after last game, and it was a bit confusing to me how much he was struggling. I think he will be better than that 7-game stretch the rest of the year, but that's not really saying anything. I don't know how good he's going to be the rest of the year. I just hope that he can find some level of consistency and produce and make shots. But his form looks better this year than it did last year, and he shot above 35% last year. So that's the part that was making no sense to me. And I think the shot for him, a lot of it's a confidence thing, because we've seen him have games where he just makes everything, makes every jumper. And we've seen him have games where he is airballing and bricking threes. Like, I don't know. I think it's mental for him if he can find consistent confidence in himself and consistently just read the game and have the game slowed down for him. It's almost like when he starts struggling, he starts trying to, like, he tries too hard to break out of his struggles. And then he'll force something and then make another mistake, and now he's trying too hard, and then it snowballs. Just needs to let the game kind of come to him and make his impact where he knows he can make an impact, which is pushing the ball in transition and making plays, driving the ball and kicking out to shooters, shoot those catch and shoot threes, absolutely. If they're dropping off the screen and you can walk up to the line and shoot that three, I kind of want him shooting that three if they're playing drop scheme. If you can punish teams for doing that, then it's going to make it harder for them to play drop scheme, which is going to make it easier for you to make an impact going downhill, which is supposed to be the bread and butter of his game. So, there's a lot of things here, but I think it starts with just his jumper. But also, the play where he fell against Siakam and then got up and turned the corner, I thought that play was a little bit of an example of what I was talking about, not in terms of like the biomechanics of it, obviously, because he fell down and then got up, but he was playing so like straightforward at guys with his dribble drives, and it was very predictable, and there was no deception of it. That move, after he got up, he's facing left and like starts to step that way, and then crossed over like sharply to the right, and it froze Siakam, and he was able to turn the corner. And that's just where he needs to play with a little bit more, like he needs to play a little bit more laterally along the three-point line when he's trying to break guys off the dribble. And needs to kind of turn a little more, like use his eyes. Like he just needs to be a little bit more deceptive when he's trying to create off the dribble. And that's something that was missing from his game during the 7-game stretch. That's something that I noticed watching some of his G League tape that he had more of. He was more deceptive with a lot of his moves. And when people were like, oh, he's not as quick. No, I don't think he's lost a step from his G League days. I just think, defenders are better. So obviously they're going to be a little bit quicker. But I think a major thing is he hasn't been as deceptive. When you're quick and deceptive, you look much quicker. Because instead of, trying to drive right and you're driving right into a defender's chest, and it's like, man, he's not quick enough to beat him off the dribble. You just drive right into him. Instead, if you're able to shift that defender to the left and then drive right, it's like, oh, he's just easily breezing by that guy. He looks quick. So I think that's a big thing for Scoot.
I kind of feel like on that play, though, he just kind of slipped and then caught him off guard, because I think Siakam thought he was going to dribble back out, and then he crossed over and went quick. So, like, I don't know if that play was necessarily...
He got up, he was facing left. He kind of like rose up and then snapped it back to the right. It wasn't... He wasn't It was accidental, but it was good. The point I'm making is a lot of the crossovers, he was very like, he wasn't turning, he wasn't shifting, he wasn't moving laterally, he wasn't turning and selling it one way and then snapping it the other. It was very straightforward, straight at the guy. You know, he'd cross, but his shoulders wouldn't turn, his shoulders wouldn't really move. He was very stiff, and it was really easy for guys to guard him that way. So, you know, I think that play was just an example, like, yeah, it was kind of a fluky, weird play, but he ended up, you know, he got up, he ended up turning and then crossed over the other way and was able to easily beat him off the dribble.
Was the one, I think it was right before halftime, where he drove and pulled up and finally made one of those, like, 10-foot shots. And I think that was halftime, right? I knew
he was going to make that. Because he looked confident, like, the bump, the bump the defender off of him, move the defender multiple, like the defender took like 5 steps backwards, but it wasn't an offensive foul. It was just good use of the body. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Thanks to everyone for reminding me. So Denny's stat line is wrong on there.
I fixed it.
You did?
Yeah, I said so earlier in the stream.
It's not fixed on there.
Oh, it was right in the first place. ESPN is glitching on me because I thought it was 18 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. And then I was literally sitting here looking at ESPN and it said 15 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. Mm-hmm. And it was final score and everything, so it wasn't like lagging behind. So that's not on me. That is on ESPN, the worldwide leader of sports. Even though they suck. Anyway. Any more Scoot thoughts?
No, just really, really happy to see him have a good game. You definitely needed a game like this. The more he continued to struggle, the more that pressure would have mounted. So it's nice to see this. I'm really, I don't know what the right word is, anxious or excited to see what happens on Tuesday against a really good Hornets team. I'd really like Scoot to build off of this, and hopefully it can. But it also really helps having Denny out there and taking some of that pressure off of everyone. The offense just looks so much smoother. So I think that helped a lot too in this game.
Yeah, agreed. Little detour. Do you want to take 2 minutes to dismantle an anti-Dame argument?
I am so sick of this guy every freaking stream turning this chat into the same freaking argument. So no, I really don't want to.
Okay.
I'll do
it. Just because he name dropped my guy Stephen Vaughn, okay? Just because of that name drop, I will address this and give the attention that it doesn't deserve. Our guy Shady says, he's talking about Dame. Basically like why Dame sucks. He says, one of the worst guard defenders ever. I mean, that's a little bit of an over-exaggeration, man. You do use hyperbole to try and get your point across because it's not a good point in the first place. So there you go. Never won. I mean, he carried a team with Al-Farouq Aminu, Maurice Harkless, and Enes Kanter as its starting front court to a Western Conference Finals. What the hell was he supposed to do with that lineup? Win a freaking championship? Always excuses. His teams weren't that good. He never played with another All-Star after Aldridge left in his 3rd year. He never had an All-Star caliber teammate. That's literally a fact. That's not an excuse. He continues to say, pounded ball and didn't make teammates better. Dude, he averaged 8 assists a game at his peak and has so much gravity that he was able to open up a ton for his teammates. That doesn't make them better. That's a cliche term that nobody can ever break down beyond just, I'm just going to say he doesn't make his teammates better just because. How did he not make his teammates better when he had one of the most gravity in the league and averaged 8 assists a game with a lineup that didn't have a lot of offensive firepower? Please tell me how. Hollow stats, that's just BS. This is just BS Twitter arguments that have no substance to them, and it's just brain rot takes. And then he says, Stephen Vaughn said the exact same. Well, I'd tell Stephen Vaughn the exact same thing. That's a terrible freaking argument. And I've had Dame arguments with Stephen Vaughn, and I think I've won every single freaking one of them. So that's my guy, but those Dame arguments are freaking horrible. They're freaking horrible. They're not a basketball conversation. So stop coming in here and saying cliche surface level BS hatred about Dame for no freaking reason when he's not even playing, just to try and get your hate off, okay? Because you sound kind of silly. Kind of silly. Kind of making it nicer than it is, all right? Silly is making it nicer than it is. There's some choice words that would probably describe it more accurately, but I'll be nice. Anyway, let's, who do you want to talk about next?
You did nothing to that guy. Look at him.
Oh, I know.
So ridiculous.
It's not for that guy. It's for everybody else to enjoy. Okay. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. When people scream awful arguments loudly, they never can actually hear anything that goes against it, you know? They're too busy thinking about what they're saying. So, anyway. Yeah, just awful. Awful takes. Like, if anybody comes in here, people are like, you guys don't respect difference of opinion. I respect differences of opinion where people are making valid counter-arguments, not sitting here like, he has hollow stats. He never won anything. He did blah, blah, blah. Like, you're not talking about freaking basketball. I guess you don't know how to talk about basketball. So, make a basketball argument. Be better.
My problem is this is the same guy who claims Scoot is going to be an all-star still and is going to start next year over Dame and
that's
all
just
this
ridiculous.
Stuff. Like, it's just
ridiculous. That's actually
so he says that and then wants us to like actually take his Dame criticism seriously when you just blindly support one person without any sort of justification to back this. You could end up being right. Scoot could end up being a star someday. Certainly if he plays like he did tonight, he certainly could become an all-star at some point. But you can't just say someone's going to be an all-star and then expect to be taken seriously when you bash one of the top 75 players of all time.
You're just agenda riddled. You're just riddled with agenda and bias, and that's it. Because I guarantee you, if Scoot scored 71 the same way Dame scored 71 on his career high night,
no.
It'd be Scoot's a future top 5 player of all time and gonna be a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? Even if he played the exact same way. So, anyway.
That is not what Steven said. He did say that he thinks the team told Dame they're not building around him, that he can be part of the team, but they're not going to. This isn't necessarily his team moving forward. But they did not say he might not start. Steven did not say that. Steven absolutely did not say that. He reluctantly said he most likely will be the starter, even though Steven personally is like you, Shady Gregory, that would not start Dame next year. He doesn't want Dame to start, but he never said that he does. He thinks Dame was told he might not start. That is just completely made up garbage. I listened to every single episode of that show. He did not say that.
I'll ask him. Ask him. I'll ask him. Anyway. Like, listen, I'm glad Steven has a stand, man. I'm happy for him. I'm going to tell him he needs to start an OnlyFans so that you can be his OnlyFans sub, since you love him so much. Anyway, jokes aside. Who you want to talk about next?
Let's talk about Denny.
Liam. That's funny. Some people take the bait, I guess. Denny. Okay, let me fix the freaking box score. Okay, I fixed the headline. I gotta do him justice, man. I got to do him justice. So his real stat line that ESPN has
18,
kept
5, 8, and 1.
messing around with. Yeah, 25 minutes. I was going to say they had him at 18 minutes for a bit there, and I was like, I thought he played a lot more, or a decent amount more. So 25 minutes for Denny. I think that's kind of right around his minutes restriction. 18 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. What I liked from Denny today, he was driving and dishing out contact and like embracing contact in a way that I haven't really seen from him since he first suffered that back injury. So that has me a little bit hopeful that it's better than it was the previous times he's returned. Now, does that mean that he's good to go and he's not going to have any more issues there? I don't know. I don't necessarily think he's going to be 100% out of the woods until next season with his injury, but it was very encouraging to me to see the style of play and see him, dishing out contact, driving. There was a couple times where Siakam was with him on the drive and he was just throwing his shoulder into Siakam. And because that's when Denny's at his best, that's the way he plays. And I've missed that, truly, truly missed that.
Yeah, man, his just ability to get to the basket and get those and ones. It was a game changer tonight, and definitely been missing that. And then he had some sweet passes, man. And for the most part, took care of the ball. Some of them might have been a little bit lucky, falling over, throwing it behind your back. That one, that fast break, he could have just dunked it, but he turned and flipped it back to Rob Will, I think it was. Just some really nice teamwork tonight, and it was really, really nice to see Denny back out there. He fell several times though, and I was like, oh gosh, please do not get hurt. Yeah, I know we didn't talk about the questionable to doubtful to questionable again, and that he plays tonight, but just happy he's out there, and hopefully this is a sign of things to come. I think he has to play every game the rest of the season to qualify for a postseason.
I don't think he
award.
qualifies anymore. No, I don't think he qualifies anymore.
I think he was like right on it, but
no, because you have to play a certain amount of minutes each game, so the Suns game doesn't count.
Yeah. I thought he was right on the number. Maybe last game it went over.
This was his 49th game. There is 17 games left. The 49th game, but like one of them doesn't count, so it's basically 48. So 48 plus 17. Yeah, maybe.
I think it's like he has to play every game, I think, yeah.
But like there's a certain amount of minutes he has to play each game, so I don't know if there's like 2. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, like, I don't know. 25 minutes. He looked fine. I didn't like bringing him back in the fourth when this game was in hand.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the starters played pretty late in the fourth. I was like, what are we doing? I guess it's just like I was talking about, the schedule's kind of light coming up, so maybe they were just thinking they could get away with giving them some extra minutes tonight.
Yeah.
But I didn't really.
He didn't really like it, and I don't like when Collab Cam does this to him either. So, we'll put him back up on the screen there. Yeah, you didn't like it?
What?
You got Collab Cammed.
Oh, did I? Yeah. I didn't like him playing late in the fourth. The schedule, I think, they just kind of, I think they thought, if they could get everyone out of this game healthy, they'd be fine with 2 games in 5 days coming up. But yeah, happy no one got hurt in this game. Hopefully we can be on the road to being healthier moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. He gives this team a spark. This team is so much more fun to watch when he's in the game. I've missed this. Truly missed having Denny at full strength. And hopefully he's at full strength now because we're going to need him. this team is competitive. This team, if he never got hurt, this team would probably have a couple more wins right now. They'd probably be 33, 32 at least. We'd be talking about a team above 500. And the race for the 8th and 9th seeds would look better right now. But you look at Golden State, Portland's only 2 games behind them. I mean, they still have a great opportunity coming up in front of them. You look at the schedule, the Blazers' next 5 opponents, all beatable. They face Charlotte. This is a really important game. The Blazers haven't won back-to-back games since before the All-Star break. They only have one stretch of games where they won multiple games in a row since January 22nd. This game against Charlotte is one of the most important games of the year because you can get to only 2 games under 500, maybe gain a game on Golden State. Maybe we're talking about a team that's only a game out of the 8th seed after this Charlotte game. You had Denny play. The team looked good. Scoot looked good. It's at home. This is a monumental game. Charlotte's been playing good, but Miami just beat them recently. The Suns beat them tonight. They, have been one of the best teams in 2026 in the entire league. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Blazers were favored. So find a way to take care of business against Charlotte. And the schedule after that, they finish off the homestand with the game against Utah. They're tanking. They go on the road to play the Philadelphia 76ers. That looks like they'll be without Embiid and probably without Tyrese Maxey. That might as well be a tanking team if that's the case. And Philadelphia's had some struggles lately, even with Maxey. Mm-hmm. And then you play Brooklyn, and then you play Indiana again. If you beat Charlotte, this should end up being a 6-game winning streak. Like, it's very possible. Charlotte's probably the hardest game in this stretch of games. So, not to count the chickens before they hatch, but it's a generational tank race.
I hate doing that with this team.
But if you have a healthy Denny Avdija, I feel much more comfortable. Like, okay, if we can beat Charlotte, if we have a healthy Denny, and Scoot's able to play better, like, we got Utah, Brooklyn, Indiana, like, those should all be wins. Philadelphia, without their 2 best players, probably should be a win. You can beat Charlotte as well. I mean, we're talking about a team that would be 36 and 34. A team that at the end of that stretch could be the 8th seed. This is the opportunity they have in front of themselves. They have some very winnable games. Now that road trip ends with Minnesota and Denver, but then they come back home, they play Brooklyn, they play Milwaukee, they play Dallas, they play Washington. This is such a golden opportunity ahead of them to play their way into the 7 versus 8 play-in game and have a chance to get the 7th seed and play the San Antonio Spurs first round. And yeah, that's obviously a really tough matchup, but they don't have playoff experience either. They have a couple vets, just like we have a couple vets with playoff experience. And, don't wish injury upon anybody ever, but if, God forbid, something happened to Wemby, the Blazers might all of a sudden become the favorite in that series because he is that good. They still got De'Aaron Fox. They still got Stephon Castle. They still got some pieces. But, we saw it last year. Unfortunately, Wemby had the blood clots, had to miss time. Like, you just never know what can happen. And compared to a team like OKC where they could lose SGA, and I still wouldn't like the Blazers' odds in that series at all, even without SGA, just because they're such a well-oiled machine and have so much depth and really good role players, etc. The goal for the Blazers still is to try and win that 7 versus 8 playing game and get the 7th seed and match up against the Spurs and see what happens. Maybe win a couple of games. Maybe you feel better about going into next year if you were able to win a couple games like that. That's what's on the horizon. But the Blazers have to win games. They have the schedule to win games. If they have a healthy Denny Avdija, if Scoot Henderson can play better, I kind of expect this team to win a ton of these games and be in that conversation for that 8th seed. They're only 2 games back right now, and they have the tiebreaker over the Golden State Warriors. They have 2 games against the Clippers at the end of the year. They're already down 0-2 in the season series, but that's 2 opportunities to beat the Clippers. So, they have a 10th seed pretty much locked up, but I don't care about the 10th seed. I want the 8th seed. I want the chance to play the Suns in a play-in and potentially win that game. So that's why the stretch lately has been very, very frustrating. But this is why tonight's so encouraging for Denny to come back, look as good as he did, for Scoot to finally have a good game, because they're going to need both these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just fun watching him back out there too. It just opens everything up, and
he's making flashy passes, flashy plays.
It's just so much better than, I mean, Grant and Holiday have had some good games recently. They both had decent games tonight, but like, you can see how much tougher it is to score when it's so reliant on those two veterans to be the offense, and when they can just play their game but not have to like force stuff or do too much. They're still really competent players, so it puts everyone back into their more correct roles, and I think pretty much everyone, you could maybe argue Tamani didn't have the greatest game, but pretty much everyone else I think kind of settled in and had a really nice game, and that was without much time to prepare for Denny coming back either. So just really encouraging to see him play.
Yep. The Warriors play the Jazz tomorrow on the road. The Warriors are 4.5-point favorites. The Clippers host the Knicks. The Knicks are 1.5-point road favorites. So for the scoreboard watching, it'll take place tomorrow, and then on Tuesday, the Warriors play the second night of back-to-back, but they're hosting the Bulls. So, that's two tanking teams that get to play. But, I mean, they've been brutal without Steph, and who knows when he comes back. The Clippers have Tuesday off, and the Blazers take on the Hornets. So, the last thing we want is for the Warriors to win both these games. Now there's a 3-game difference, and then we lose to the Hornets. That's why that Hornets game is super important, because the Warriors schedule the rest of the way. I'll put it up on the screen. Tankathon is the scene I have ready for it. So the schedule for the Warriors looks like this. You got Utah, Chicago, but then after that, it's not the easiest schedule. You got Minnesota, you got New York. Yeah, you got Washington thrown in there, but then you got Boston and Detroit. This is my goodness, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-game Eastern Conference trip. They finish it in Dallas. Of course, you got a game against Brooklyn, Washington, but Denver, San Antonio, Cleveland, Houston. Their schedule is harder than ours the rest of the year, and who knows when Steph returns. They don't have Jimmy Butler. This team is catchable, but like the Blazers are going to have to rattle off a bunch of wins. They have the schedule to do it, but can they actually succeed in doing it? Not sure. But that's the opportunity in front of them. It'd be really, really cool to sit there in a 7-8 play and knowing that you at least have 2 games, knowing that you got a chance to get the 7th seed.
Shawnee asks, what is even the point of the Warriors making it? They should just sit everybody at this point. They're making waves in the playoffs. I mean, that's never been their attitude. Steph, you'd think would come back at some point. They do have maybe Porzingis could play in a playoff series. Still got Draymond. You still got some pieces there. So it would be – I don't think their mindset has ever been like outside of – there was a year where Steph played like 5 games, and obviously you want to probably tank that season. I think that might have been the year Clay was out too. So there's exceptions to that if there's injuries, but as long as Steph is still coming back and capable of playing, they're never going to give up on a season, because if you have that guy, you always have a fighter's chance.
Yeah, exactly. Side note, some of y'all in chat with no profile picture should have profile pictures. I see so many green circles for so many different people. It's hard to tell you guys apart. So you should add some profile pictures, to your YouTube accounts, just for fun, just for fun. But I did get a response from Steven. He said, I don't think I said that. I think what I might have said is that might be his best role, which, I disagree with, but completely different statement. So Shady, we're calling you out in the chat for misrepresenting his comments.
Say it again, Tori, so everyone.
He said, I don't think I said that. I may have said that could be his best role, but that's an opinion statement, not I think the Blazers might not start him. So just wanted to clarify that, because don't be lying on Steven's words here, you know.
Isn't that what I said? Steven said?
That's exactly what you said. So I think Shady's gone. So he just come here, drop some misinformation, you know, and then if we hold that misinformation accountable, then it's just because he had a different opinion. That's why we're putting him in timeout or banning him, you know, because we didn't agree with his opinion that was misinformed and peddling misinformation. So, yeah. Anyway. Moving on. Yeah. When I can go straight to the source pretty easily. Don't be misrepresenting comments, all right? Jeremy Grant, 21 points. I mean, he's putting together a nice little stretch of basketball here.
Yeah, I still think ultimately if we could have him coming off the bench at some point this year, I think that would be better. But
that would be amazing.
It's hard to argue with what he's doing right now. He's been pretty good outside of a couple games lately. But, you know, the less we have to depend on him to go one-on-one, I think the better it is. We saw him get going tonight because he got a lot of catch-and-shoot threes, some no-dip threes. So I think, you know, the guys like Grant, if they can just be part of the team instead of having to carry it, I think it's much better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He's doing a good job of putting his head down, getting to the rim, getting to the free throw line, and then 4 for 6 from 3. 2 steals, 2 blocks, made some plays, had a really nice weak side defensive rotation to block a shot at the rim. You know, he got that 9 rebound game and then forgot how to rebound again. Only 2 rebounds in 32 minutes. But, you know, a couple steals, couple blocks, some defensive plays, and efficient scoring is what I ask for from Grant. So he succeeded in that regard today. Drew Holiday, 21 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. He didn't really have to be as much of a playmaker for other players with Scoot playing the way he was and with Denny back. Drew could kind of just take a backseat from that regard and score the ball. Like, shot a couple of those step-back threes, which have been freaking dialed in lately. Has been automatic lately. He's 5 for 8 from 3, 7 for 10 from the field in 25 minutes, scores 21 points. I like this version of Drew Holiday that scores 21 points in 25 minutes, and it's all efficient. And it was, you know, he wasn't dominating the ball a whole lot to do so. So,
man, his step-back 3 is so money right now.
I know.
That one in the corner was nice, but
I've started to wonder, like, could he hezzy that? Could he do that move and hezzy off that and sell it?
I don't know. Yeah, it'd be tough. I'm sure he could. I wonder how close it'd be to a travel if he did. But
if you keep your hand, Well, in the NBA, you're allowed to put your hand under the ball. They don't call carrying.
Yeah, I know. It might look weird, but it was good to see him get a wide open 3-2 and knock it down. After how much he's been having to shoot contested shots lately. But yeah, it's he's just another one of those vets who I mean, he's capable of running a team, but the less you have to rely on him being the guy and can just fill his role, I think the better off you are. So that's the beauty of having a healthier team, is everyone can slot back into their lineups, and what do you know? They're all more successful at it tonight.
Yeah, for real. Well said. You had Donovan Clingan, 9 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 turnovers, a steal, a block. With the extra playmaking, and I'm surprised he didn't do a little bit more offensively or get set up a little bit more offensively. But also, Jay Huff is a big shot blocking big. Isn't necessarily the easiest guy to
chase his blocks. I don't.
Yeah, well, yeah, he blocks shots. You know, he definitely chases them. But you know, for Clingan, when other guys had it going, like he, I Only had 3 offensive rebounds in this game. It's funny that that's an only. It's kind of like the Blazers' turnovers, but in a positive way. Only had 3 offensive rebounds today, but the Blazers made a lot of shots, so wasn't as many to be had. So, solid
two
ball
were
game,
on
though.
drives where, like, Denny would just collapse the defense, and then that left him wide open to clean up the glass. So.
Had a couple plays where he got the ball stripped or like blocked. I don't know what they count that as, a field goal attempt or not, but
yeah.
Well,
I was sad he dribbled off his foot on that one. I wanted to see what happened when he tried to take. I forgot that was Huff or Potter, but
I think he was gonna go to the baseline and spin back to the middle, which
maybe
is the move there. You got to make sure you're not gonna spin into too much traffic, but
or he might have tried to reverse it too. He's done that sometimes.
Yeah, who knows? Offensively, in 5 years, maybe he's driving off the dribble and he's run off the 3-point line and making stuff happen. I don't know. That'd be cool though. I wouldn't put it past him because of the way his 3-point shot's been developing, and I don't know. He didn't look too bad. He just dribbled it off his big ass foot. So, can he learn how to not dribble off his big ass foot? That'd be a good development. Good development. And then Tamani, everybody had a good offensive night except for Tamani. Well, Krejci also didn't shoot the ball particularly well. We'll talk about that. But Tamani, 3 for 10, 1 for 5 from 3, 11 rebounds. 11 rebounds is nice, but 2 assists. Continues to be in a funk offensively.
Man, that one play where he shot 2 corner threes in a row. It's like,
I'm telling you. He should not be parked in the corner unless he's going to cut from the corner. He does not make enough corner threes, dude. It is freaking brutal. I'm going to look up the percentage because I swear it's probably worse than the 25% it was earlier. On the season, he's 35.7% from 3. But from the corners, no, that's a little better than I thought. 29.9%. But still, he shoots almost 30% of his threes from the corner, and he makes under 30% of his threes from the corner. That's not a good shot right now. He has opportunities to cut from the corner, and he just sits in the corner and shoots threes and misses so many of them.
yeah.
I don't know.
He had that one drive too. Didn't come close to making it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, when you have a healthy team, you don't need him to do a whole lot offensively.
Yeah.
Like, he probably, in a game like tonight, he should be shooting 10 or less shots, and he shoots 10, and he played 28 minutes, so, and it's not like he took terrible shots. Shoot, maybe the worst 3 he took was the one he made. The 3 from the top of the arc that, there's a defender in the area. So, just as long as he doesn't try to do too much, like 3 for 10, yeah, it's not efficient, but just as long as he's taking the right shots, and I think we have enough of a sample size where it's like, okay, he's just consistent enough to most of the time keep defenders honest and is shooting 35% from 3 now, something like that. That's just good enough to get him by offensively, given what he can provide on the defensive side of the ball. So when he's not shooting the ball well, he makes it worse if he shoots more. And there's games where he just doesn't have it from 3. And there's been a lot of games like that lately. The only thing he can do to make that worse is to shoot a bunch of them when he doesn't have it going from 3. So, he shoots 5 today. That's actually... the last time he shot less than that was at Minnesota, where he only shot 3 and he was 2 for 3. And that was on February 11th. Before that, the last time he shot less than that was when he was 0 for 4 from 3 at New York on January 30th. That was the game where he didn't score in 26 minutes. Because there's a lot of nights lately where he's 2 for 8 from 3, 2 for 8 from 3, 2 for 9 from 3, 0 for 7 from 3. Where he's shooting a little too much and he's shooting some tough ones. The wide open ones, sure, let those fly. But if they're leaving you that wide open, like, can you cut? on these opportunities when you don't have it going from three. Like, just find that balance makes sense. But as long as he's not shooting too much when he doesn't have it going and not forcing dumb shots, like, you know, as long as he's contributing and doing what he does defensively, you can take a 3 for 10 game.
Yeah. And honestly, we might be better off having him be able to focus more on defense and not having to have the offensive burden that he's had at points this year with the injuries and stuff. So, yeah, just focus on the defense, and whatever you get from him in offense will be good. He should be taking good enough threes to where he's at least a 37-38% three-point shooter. Like, I feel like anything less than that, if you're just shooting catch and shoot threes, you shouldn't be shooting off the dribble threes. If you're not hitting corner threes, stay out of the corners, like you said. And yeah, so and so yeah, just knock down your threes, be a 3-and-D guy, and that's all we really need him to be. And that's fine. But yeah, I feel like he's been a little too aggressive for his skill level at points this year. But some of that has been he's had to try and step up when people are out.
Yeah. Yep. Robert Williams off the bench had a good game, 12 points, 7 boards in 20 minutes. Solid performance.
Yeah, he's been playing really good lately. As Calabro mentioned on the broadcast, Blazers don't have any back-to-backs coming up, so going to hopefully see a lot of Rob Will outside of I think we only have 1 or 2 left the rest of the season.
At some point, do you just try him out on a back-to-back? At this point in the year, especially?
Might be it depending on, like, if we played the Pacers like we did tonight on the second night of a back-to-back, I almost feel like with Huff and Potter, we could go small on them. But yeah, I don't know. It's I could buy that argument, just see what happens, but the playoffs, there's no back-to-back. Play-in wouldn't be a back-to-back, obviously. So I think having him healthy for a potential play-in game or playoff game is way more important than potentially risking him in a back-to-back. So I would say with how few we have left, if someone double-checked how many we had left, I would say at this point you might as well not do it. But if he's our backup center next year, I think you have to try to play it at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you have a good third string that you feel comfortable with, which is not Young Hansen. Gotta love the comment in chat from somebody I haven't seen all stream. It's the Pacers, for Christ's sakes. Let's pump the brakes. All right, man. Cool. Let's just keep feeling like utter crap and not enjoying anything. You're right. My bad. Anyway, Scoot against Pacers level teams in this 7-game stretch was awful, so I will take what I can get. And this was a good performance for him. And Denny's back, so relax. LOL, why aren't you still crying and suffering? Yeah, great question, man. Great question. Sorry, go ahead.
I do. I mean, I get it. Like, how many times this year have we been struggling and we beat a crappy team and then we're like, oh, we're back. But that's not necessarily what we're saying, because the rest of the season there are more crappy games like this than good games, or like tough games. So, yeah, I mean, they could come out and lay an egg on Tuesday, but I think this was huge. One, a lot of our struggles over the past few weeks have been because Denny's been either in and out of the lineup or not in the lineup at all. And that's been hard for this team to overcome. especially with the sharp injury on top of that and not having that scoring when Denny's out. And then, but yeah, so just getting him back, hopefully healthy the rest of the season, is huge. But also, I mean, we talked about Scoot's confidence. Just getting him going potentially, it could be huge. It doesn't matter who the opponent was. We absolutely needed Scoot to have a game like this, and hopefully he can build on that. And then everyone else, is pretty much solid in their role. Rob Will, Grant, Holiday, Klingon, Kamara, like they all understand their roles and stuff like that. So I think it's just about this team looking right, not necessarily because they beat up on the Pacers.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about V. Did we break him?
Dude.
Did we break his jumper? Is bad shooting contagious?
It might be. For the first time, I found myself very frustrated with this game. Like, it's like, make a freaking shot, dude. Like, you're a shooter. And I know it's incredibly small sample size still, and he's streaky, and he's taken some tough shots. He got some good looks though this game.
Yeah.
But man, I do like other stuff he's doing. I do like when he puts it on the floor. I think his defense has been, it's not necessarily great, but it's been adequate or better than he's been given credit for. Like, he's not an absolute traffic cone like it's been said about him. But you got brought in to make some shots, and at some point you're gonna have to freaking hit some shots. And I can tell he's frustrated too, but at some point just gotta start making somebody.
Yeah. We brought him in to make threes, man. Is his 3-point percentage on the season below 40% yet? It is.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, he's like 30% with the Blazers. So if he can figure out how to be the shooter that he's been his entire career, then that would just be another element added to this team. Like, this offense, if you have Scoot playing well and Denny back and he's playing well and Veet making threes, like like those three factors alone take this from a borderline bottom 5 offense to an offense that I could see being between 10 and 15. Like, taking a massive jump and being kind of dangerous. But you need your shooter that you brought in to make threes. And he had some nice floaters, a couple nice floaters in this game. Nice pass on a fast break. So, like, that's the thing with him is, like, I liked him as a 3-point specialist target because of the other stuff. It just wasn't supposed to be he comes in and the other stuff still keeps him, like, playable while he bricks a bunch of threes. Because otherwise that's what you got Chris Murray for. So, I think, like, at some point he'll start making threes. Like, if this is a case where he's a career, like, 40% 3-point shooter for multiple seasons in a row, comes to Portland and all of a sudden turns into a 30% 3-point shooter and is just completely broken, then at some point it's like, okay, what is wrong with Portland? Not what is wrong with Vic Krejci. What is wrong with Portland, and how do they ruin this 3-point specialist into shooting awful? Like, I don't know. Like, I think he'll figure it out. It would be nice to see him get some more catch and shoot threes, though, like clean catch and shoot threes.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could see the vision when Denny and him play together. They haven't really had a chance to do much together since he came over because it kind of lined up with Denny being hurt. Yeah, I don't know. The thing that's good about V is we didn't trade for someone with, like, some huge contract that we absolutely need him to be some sort of, like, high-end role player or we're screwed. He's still on a minimal contract the next couple of years if we keep him. So, it's just I think he'll be fine, but it is starting to be like, come on, dude, make some shots.
Yeah. All right. It's one of those things where it's like I can criticize the shot selection, but if he's taking good enough shots and they're not falling when historically they've always fallen, it's hard for me to criticize the guy because he's not trying to miss threes. They're just not falling for whatever reason, and maybe he needs to go to the lab and like fix something with his jumper that's gone awry or something. But like outside of that,
It doesn't look bad, other than like
it looks.
having to take like he's been taking some weird angled ones with like a defender in his face or like
Like we probably need to get him some better 3-point looks to get him going because I almost feel like it's messing with him having to shoot some of the really tough threes that he shoots and then he misses the open ones. It's like we should be able to find a way to get him some cleaner catch and shoot threes and find a rhythm. Like he was slumping though before he got traded here. It's kind of a prolonged slump that he's in. But he has a much larger sample of producing from the 3-point line, so it's like, okay, how can we just get him to kind of break out of this? Slumps happen. They happen in every sport. So, I don't know. Like, he just has to keep being confident and shooting solid threes. And if there's I don't know, is he missing short a lot? Like, if he's missing short a lot, maybe there's a tweak that needs to be made, I don't know. If he's missing consistently one way or another, then that means that there's something going consistently wrong that is then fixable. But yeah, I don't know. Like, he's still able to do some other stuff and still provides floor spacing. Like, teams aren't going to start leaving him even if he shoots 30%. And if they do, then he's not going to shoot 30% for long, because he's that pedigree shooter. So I'm happy that he's still playing. He played 22 minutes in this game. I'm happy that he's still playing minutes like that, even though he's struggling from three. He played more than Chris Murray in this game. He played more than City Sissoko in this game. City Sissoko was out of the rotation in this game. City Sissoko was out of the rotation in this game. No offense to City, but yeah, I was happy to see that.
Yeah, I still have Chris Murray, but yeah.
See, like if Shea wasn't hurt, then Chris Murray would be out of the rotation too, I think, and you'd have
probably.
I don't know who starts, who comes off the bench, if whatever, but you'd have your 9-man group there. That is a very solid 9-man group. Because we didn't even talk about Chris. He played 17 minutes. I barely remember them. All that I remember is he fell really hard on his back. He dealt with that back injury. Oh yeah, he made a 3. I do remember that too because I was like, man, this game has everything going right. It's so good that Chris Murray made a 3.
He had an offensive rebound in the first half when it was still kind of a close game.
He played 17 minutes and he hit a garbage time 3 and had an offensive rebound in the first half. This is very Chris Murray-esque review here.
Yes. That's all we need to say about him.
Yeah. And then Young had 5 points in 4 minutes. Good for him. Per 36 numbers through the roof. So that's cool. The crowd cheered about as hard for his made bucket that didn't count as anything else the rest of the game. So that's cool.
What was with Blake Wesley going absolutely psycho on him when
he got Young a dunk, man? He was being like every Blazer fan, Yeah. Young got a dunk, and everybody wants. I don't know. That's Blake Wesley's personality, man. I don't know. If I was a Pacer, I'd be really annoyed by whatever the hell that is in like the final minute of garbage time. Like, dude, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Reed's passing is not great, and his defense isn't great. I mean, for a 3-point specialist, I think his passing and his defense is above average for a 3-point specialist. Like, most of the time, those guys are cones defensively and don't really play make at all. And V has been okay defensively and has made some nice passes, made some nice plays. So, yeah. Anyway, anybody else? No, I think we're good. Oh, Thibault played 8 minutes and didn't shoot and had to steal and had a rebound. forgot.
Yeah,
I don't
wasn't
remember
very
him
memorable.
playing at all.
I mean, he brought the ball up a couple of times, and then quickly got it to Scoot. But yeah, that very unremarkable game. Not good or bad.
Yeah. Alrighty. That's our recap. Blazers next game Tuesday against the Charlotte Hornets. Very important game for them to try and win. I'm curious to see what the spread line is going to be on that game. We don't have it yet. I think that's going to be a close game, a fun close game. Hopefully, because I don't think we're blowing them out. But the Phoenix Suns, they don't have Dylan Brooks. Devin Booker's back, but they just beat him 111-99 tonight. Like, this is the type of win that I've been talking about, where you got to beat a team that's playing some great basketball. We haven't really done that in a while, so it's going to be a true test for this team. We'll see if Denny plays more minutes. We'll see if Scoot can follow up this performance.
They did say Denny was on a minutes restriction tonight.
Yeah, so we'll see if that gets bumped from, he played 25 minutes today. We'll see if he can play maybe up to 30. I don't know. Like, backs for minute restriction, it's like either, I don't know, it's kind of weird. It's like either he's going to tweak it on a play or he's not. Right? Like, if the more he plays, is that going to make him more susceptible to tweaking it? I don't know. Backs are tricky.
I don't know either. So I just looked at it. Appears as if the Hornets had everyone that played in the game against us. So their normal starting five and their normal bench guys. So I was wondering if anyone was like out for them, but
yeah, they that must have been a slow-paced game because they didn't shoot great, but 42% from the field, 33% from three. They just didn't get to the line. 67% from the line, 10 for 15. Turned it over 11 times. That to me seems like it was a slow-paced game. Just looking at like the attempts there. For the Suns, it was basically just Devin Booker got to the line 15 times and made all 15 of his free throws. So if Denny's playing, if you're able to do that, that'd be cool. 30 points for him, 7 for 18. They had 24 from Colin Gillespie, who was 5 for 10 from 3. And they had 24 from Jalen Green, who was 4 for 10 from 3. So those three guys combined for 78 of their 111 points. So it was kind of a three-man show. Actually, it was kind of a four-man show because Rasheer Fleming, in 23 minutes off the bench, had 16 points, was 6 for 8 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3. So those guys combined for 94 of their 111 points. Like, nobody else did anything offensively. They started Royce O'Neal. He had 3 points in 32 minutes. Oso Ighodaro had 2 points in 28 minutes. They didn't have Mark Williams in this game. They didn't have Dylan Brooks in this game. You have Haywood Highsmith getting minutes now. He had 3 points in 21 minutes. So, like, a lot of guys that didn't do much, but they couldn't contain Booker. They couldn't contain Gillespie. They couldn't contain Green. That's 3 guards there in the starting lineup. So, like, they've been playing better defensively, but, like, Knipple, I don't know. How good has he been defensively this year? I don't really know off the top
he's
of my
been
head.
okay.
Like, he's been okay, but, he's not the most athletic guy. He's kind of like smart defensive player. LaMelo's not a good defender. Miles Bridges is like okay at best defensively. They don't really have a great defensive unit. You got Kobe White off the bench as a score first guard that doesn't really play good defense. So you should be able to score if, you have Denny and if Scoot plays well. It's just, can you contain them and not let them shoot, 40% from 3, not let them have a hot offensive night. Brandon Miller was held in check today, only 11 points for him. So that's going to be a key. He killed the Blazers last game, so.
Yep. Let's hope that they play like they did tonight.
Yep. Anyway, anything else you want to get into here?
No, just happy that Scoot had a good game and that the Blazers are back. And back in the win column, at least.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll be back with you guys Tuesday night after the Blazers take on the Hornets. That would be a great win to go out there and get. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. Leave a like. Easiest way to support the channel. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you have that bell icon turned on. Also, make sure you're in our Discord where you can join our game chats. There's a link in the description box below for that. The Blazers get a big win over Indiana, 131-111. Nice to see Danny return and look sharp. Nice to see Scoot have a game where he breaks out of his slump. That was really, really fun. It felt really, really good to just see him after the struggles the past 7 games just make some shots and feel good about himself. You know, we've been missing that. So, while this was a bottom feeder, this was still a game which a lot of good things happened, and hopefully moving forward against a schedule filled with bottom feeders, the Blazers can build some momentum starting on Tuesday, which is going to be a challenge taking on the Charlotte Hornets. Anyway, we are out of here. You guys have a good rest of your Sunday nights. We'll catch you on Tuesday. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.